Today we had Nicole Devaney on, who's a CHEK teacher. She's from the States and she's done a lot of inner healing. We talked about, her life from being a stripper and then becoming a CHEK practitioner, which was fucking amazing. We got deep. We talked about a lot of cool shit.
Yeah, it was cool hearing finding Zen in the strip club. That was such a cool concept.
Yeah.
And how breast plants, how she got her breast plants removed, and how that what illness that represented in her body, and how it was just a major part of healing. And just the whole journey. So she's one of the OGs in the CHEK community. Definitely for all the guys and the girls, tune in for that because, it's inspirational and she's just healthy.
Yeah.
She looks healthy. So
Yeah.
I like to listen to people that look healthy because I know they're living it.
Yeah, I say it every time. That was definitely one of my favorites. So tune in.
Yeah.
So today, guys, on the podcast, we have Nicole Devaney. We've had a lot of people actually ask us to get you on. So Matt was one of them, wasn't he?
Matt Walden.
Matt Walden. Yeah. Alex Rubchansky. Yeah. So a lot of the Chekies were frothing it to get you on the potty, and we don't know much about you yet, but we're going to discover that today. So
yeah, well, you're one of the OGs.
Yeah, we know you're one of the OGs. That's for sure.
And I remember you were on Paul's podcast early days, when it started, and it was really actually a cool story because so many girls can relate because I remember you mentioned you were talking about how you got your breast implants removed and how that was, and how this isn't it's not really known. It is starting to become known a little bit. Like girls are starting to realize things affect your body, what you put into it. You know what I mean? I'm talking about in our own community here, but I've heard so many stories. I knew a girl that had migraines, just constant migraines until she got rid of it, and she got rid of them and they went away. So what was your experience with that? That'd be a cool thing to get into actually, because most of our followers are
You've
female.
done your research, dude.
I didn't do that.
Well, I'm not your typical Checkie or faculty, meaning that I didn't pursue a career in health and wellness. I actually was in modeling and dancing industry. And I had done it for years. I was actually on the cover of High Times, and I've had just a really fun. I joke that my 20s were a bit like retirement. I didn't have to work very hard. And so I became a mom at 26 and became a single mom at 26 and a half, and had to figure out how to put bacon on the table and cook it. So for me, it was going back into the exotic dancing world. And that was an effort to get my body back to where it was. And for the first time, I was really actually anti-breast implant. I was like, what God gave you, it's, but getting up on the stage again and having that 26-year-old butt that I could easily get back, but not that 20-year-old breast in this society place that expects you to have a certain look. And so for me, it was a business investment, and one that served me well for 11 years. And I actually really went into it full-heartedly. It wasn't oh, I hate these things. It was oh my God, I feel like a Disney princess. This is all new. So as my need for income from that industry dwindled and my attention to my health increased, I had them removed, and it was really nice. It was like taking off a pair of 11-year-old high heels. I'm sure neither of you can relate, but when you wear that kind of shoe at the end of the night, it feels like you're stepping into holes when you take them off. And it's funny because I didn't have breast implant illness at that time, but through the process of getting them and being really strong in my upper body, I was a climber. I was teaching pole dancing. I had a business. I kept moving the actual implant into my armpit with my pecs. And so I had 2.5 surgeries to move them down. And on the second surgery, they found that one had imploded in my body.
Oh.
And it was at that time at 28 years old that I showed signs of thyroid issues and adrenal stuff, and also started my CHEK path and was healing myself for thyroid. And I think looking back, it was breast implant illness.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Shit.
And they're now showing that, because some women get them and they're like, there's no problem at all.
Mm.
And other women do. And they're starting to believe that breast implant illness is like an autoimmune condition.
Yeah, your
Wow.
body just trying to push out something foreign to it. Hey,
Well, it makes sense, doesn't it?
yeah, it does.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm.
It makes you wonder, like, because we can handle, like, I got a titanium jaw. I got punched years ago. He's got titanium leg.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But I'm glad that when we got our heavy metals tested, we weren't high in titanium.
yeah, fully.
That was
hey.
a relief, eh?
Yeah, Jan said something like, do you know Jan Carton? She's a CHEK practitioner from over here, but she's
Not by name.
yeah, she's cool, but she's a really spiritual lady, and she said to me, she's like, I would leave it in. She's like, your body knows what to do, and it can adapt to anything. You know what I mean? So in my mindset, I've always thought like it can adapt, you know, to something like that,
Yeah.
like to having a metal rod or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, for
But
sure.
I guess implants would be a little different in the way that they're quite toxic, aren't they?
Yeah. Each person's going to be different. Some people will have an issue with a metal implant and have to work around that.
Mm,
It's all our queen teacher, how our life shows up with it, and also how we like believe in it, right?
mm.
Like I chose specifically not to learn about the dangers of breast implants until I had my date scheduled.
Yeah, that's
Because
cool.
I'm like, I don't want to imprint my mind with that while these are in my body.
Yeah. So,
And what was when you look back on it, breast plant illness, like what did that look like for you? What did that feel like for you?
Oh, okay. So I was going through the CHEK Institute, and at that point, I was going to parties and Burning Man, and it's the middle of summer and 98 degrees at night, and I'm wearing snow pants because I'm cold and I want to look sexy. So I have a bikini top and snow pants on. And my hair was thinning. And so I was getting extensions because I didn't have like the thickness in the hair that would naturally be there in your 20s. I actually, just before my HLC2 class, went to a naturopath and had all my blood work ran because I was positive it was a thyroid issue. And my blood work came back like they're just on the border, nothing we'd give you medication for. So basically, you spent $1,000 and there's nothing wrong with you. But I got it out to HLC and just did the questionnaires that were given. And I was high in adrenal and I was high in thyroid. And so these questionnaires are kind of designed to figure out the problem before it's needing to be medicated, and just took that whole path of healing those through what I learned in that class.
Yeah, that's so good. I had a client the other day. I saw a psychic the other day actually, and she was like, "Be careful because one of your clients is like not being honest with you right now." And then I went home and I filled out the HAQ questionnaire. I posted it on my story,
Oh, yeah.
and everything was 0 except for connective tissue, and then everything was 0. And I was like, I don't think so.
Oh, for a client?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like it's so accurate, that thing, and I've never seen it all 0 ever. I've had
Yeah.
like. Yeah, it's always like there's always a few that are kind of a little high, and yeah.
Yeah, we
And are you a level 1, a level 2?
Like HLC or
Yeah.
HLC 2, IMS 4.
Okay. So when you doused it, what did you get?
I haven't doused it yet. Yeah.
Yeah. I had a client that literally had a heart attack about 3 months after turning in his all green HAQ.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I feel it. Like I felt it straight away. I was like, this isn't right. You know, you're just like, nah. But
So for fun of conversation,
Mm.
what are the reasons you might think that would show up like that? Like, why would somebody be all green when they look obviously like they wouldn't be healthy?
yeah. Well, I wouldn't say the person doesn't look healthy. He looks healthy, but yeah, I can tell just from like eyes. Yeah, like a little bit of darkness under the eyes, a few things like that. I thought the adrenals would be higher. But yeah, that's just the feeling I got when I saw it. Yeah.
You know what, the big one for me that shows up is that they're on a medication
Oh, true.
that
That's a
keeps
good
them
one.
from
Yeah.
feeling those symptoms.
Yeah. That's a hell good one, eh?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, cool. I have to ask about that.
How did you when you were saying how you just started getting into the CHEK stuff, like how did you initiate into that? What was your introduction into it? Yeah.
I love this. Thank you for asking that question. I was a yogini and a contortionist. And through that process, I competed in the Yoga World Championships.
Wow, there's
And
world championships for yoga?
right, yeah, it was actually a Bikram yoga thing that he brought over to America.
Yep.
Yeah,
I
now you
watched,
know.
yeah, I watched that guy.
And,
Yeah.
you know, looking back at my younger self, I'm like, you should never compete in something like that. But I was coming out of giving birth and had a lot of laxin in my body and was really naturally flexible already. And had been babysitting for the yoga center to get free yoga. And they asked me to just compete locally to support them. And I won,
Sick.
probably because I didn't give a shit about it.
Yeah.
And then I got free training and I got to train for 3 months. And my position I was known for was to bring my butt around and put it on my head and grab my ankles and smile. You have to perform 5 positions in 5
Whoa.
minutes in the competition. During the training, I was in a lot of pain. I was crawling out of the yoga studio some days.
Whoa.
There was one day where I heard a snap in my back.
Oh.
And I couldn't pick my daughter up. And to me, my body was the income for us. And that lasted for about a year where I had no answers. I was seeing chiropractors. I had done prolotherapy on it and had injections. And every time it was like, it would feel better for a moment, but it didn't last. And every time I'd call them, they're like, yeah, come back in. We'll give you more injections or this or that. And so one day my daughter's like, you pick me up now, mommy. And I just got to my knees and cried. And I wasn't raised religious, but like at that moment, I just gave it all up. I'm like, whatever source there is, you've got to help me because I got to raise this little girl. And I had a dream. So I've always had really big turning points. I've been intuitive my whole life. And a whole lot of that comes through dreams. And in this dream, there was a man who showed up in a teepee. And I actually had met him recently, but didn't know how to pick up the phone and call him in real life. And he gave me a pill, and it wasn't like a blue or a red pill. There was no choice. It was, here's a pill. And I took it, and all of my light centers started opening up. And when it got down to my sacral chakra, there was this big shift, and the pain went away in the dream. And I woke up pretty impacted by it. And I could feel that the pain was lessened more than it had been in a long time. And that night I was giving a lecture at a festival on organic food and the differences. And he was in the front row. And I says, what do you do? And he's like, well, I'm a CHEK practitioner. We measure every muscle in your body and we find out where you're short and tight and where you're long and weak. And we build a program so you can bring it all back into balance. And like every hair on my body stood up and was like, this is it. And luckily he took payments.
Yeah.
That time I couldn't work that much. And it was the beginnings of something that I didn't even know was going to be like my life purpose. But how about that for like a pain teacher story?
Yeah, that's crazy.
And who, it wasn't Paul, was it? It was someone else? Or?
No, his name's Anthony. He's a good friend of mine,
Yeah.
CHEK practitioner out here in Utah. We ran a studio together for about 5 years.
Wow.
Insane.
And you know, after working with him for a year, I closed down my pole dancing studio because I realized I couldn't do everything I was doing and heal. And at that point, I don't know if you've ever had to close a business that you put all your heart and soul into, but I felt like this failure, and I didn't know what to do. And I'm like, well, I'll just go check out this CHEK school. And was pretty sure I was going to quit the first day of class. I was like, this is way too technical, not for me. But Paul CHEK walked in.
Oh, shit.
And he asked everyone what their dream was. And he got to me. And I'm like, to be pain-free and financially secure. That was my dream. And he proceeded to fillet my soul in front of everyone.
What did he say?
And well, basically that the pain was the greatest gift we can have. Like, to be pain-free is not a possible option, but to change our view on pain and what it's bringing to us and how it makes us grow. And then the idea of being financially secure, like there is no such thing as security. And so basically he was showing me how my dream wasn't going to lead me to anything. And in about 2.5 hours, because that's how long he took to talk to me, he cut down every line of bullshit I'd ever told myself that's kept me small.
Mm.
The teacher walked up to me after. She's like, "Are you okay? He makes women cry." This was before Mana and, Angie, and the softening of his heart. He was
Yeah.
a little more militant back then.
Yeah.
And I knew at that moment I was like more than okay, and that I needed to get to him. So I committed. I'm like, I'm going to just get to those higher levels where Paul teaches, and I'm going to grow myself. I'm like, I don't like this anatomy stuff, but whatever, I'll chew it and get through it and get to Paul.
Wow.
That's amazing. What a story, eh?
Yeah. And we've been talking about this a bit lately, and now I'm really starting to like see it more in my life, like as in the magic in the world and whatnot, in the sense of like, I don't know what you want to call it, manifestation, law of attraction. And like Jake and I have been talking recently how the universe is constantly trying to talk to you. like every day. Like it could be something on the radio, it could be hearing someone else's conversation, but it's meant for you. And it's getting ridiculous now. And I know if we're just looking for signs or whatnot, but it seems to be so accurate. And how did you, like, what is that for you? What is that like inner voice for you, or that guidance for you? Is that like a meditation, or is that like did that happen back when you were younger, when you just got into the CHEK stuff? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, I love this too. I could probably ramble for a moment. So I was raised in a house. My grandmother was an astrologer.
Mm-hmm.
So she wasn't alive when I was growing up, but when we stubbed our toe, it wasn't because we were clumsy. It was because Mercury was in retrograde.
Yeah.
So there was already this like esoteric. And I, as a little girl, sometimes I would choose to sleep out of my room downstairs, and I would see somebody upstairs, and I tell my mom, I'm scared, there's somebody upstairs. And she goes, "Oh, well, what do they look like?" Not, "It's okay, they're not there." So instead of like having that suppressed from an early age, my mom started bringing out photo albums and helping me identify that that was one of my grandmothers upstairs, and to not be afraid, and that I could connect with her. And so I was very open. Everyone has different clairs. There's like clairsentience, clairaudience, clairvisual. So some people see, some people hear. Mine's been very instinctual. So usually before I get like a visual or a guidance through like a voice, there's like a deep inner knowing. I've learned a little bit through human design. I don't know if you guys have ever looked at human design, but I'm a splenic projector, and they kind of talk about their very animal instinct. You have to just go with that first instinct. And that's been very true for me. And so more and more these days, like in the beginning, when I was a young girl, I just loved getting tools of divination. So the pendulum is a tool of divination. It's basically an extension of you that you're holding to get a clear sign of questions that you're asking. I loved cards and tarot cards. I love dowsing rods, anything I could get my hands on and practice with. And I think that like this sixth sense is like something you got to take to the gym. You got to practice with it.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, another fun story, HLC2. I had been doing some big healing, and there was a lot of crying come from me. And we were actually dowsing the HLC of other people. And I was still tearing up. Paul gave me a lot of shit during that class. And he comes over, he's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm holding the dowse and trying to figure out what the number is. And I'm like, "Dowsing?" And he grabs it and he throws it. And he's like, "You don't need that. Where's this number? Where's this number?" And he was right. Like eventually you can let go of the tools, because this is the tool.
Mm-hmm.
And it aligns with your beliefs and your dreams. So this tool can steer you wrong if you're constantly like holding negative thoughts, not working on the belief systems, not healing your traumas, in my opinion. So when we do that, and the clearer we can polish our mirror, the better this tool can divine us into the right direction. The last piece is the animal spirits. I just get a lot of connection through animals. They just come in at the, if there's an ant crawling on my laptop while I'm doing a Zoom, I'm like, okay, what are you teaching me about this client?
Mm.
Typically before ceremonies, I have a really powerful animal that will come in and be with me. And yeah.
Wow. And
That's awesome.
and when you say come in, what do you mean by that? Does that come into like an image in your head or a feeling, or do you mean physically you see an animal around you?
It's a combination. Typically it's a physical, like I'll give you one fun story recently. The dove is a bird of peace and a lot of love. And years ago when my mom had died, I was pulling up to her house and there was like a passed away dove in the driveway. I'm like, oh, okay. So, the death of this piece. But just about a year ago, I was sitting with a client. I like to do them outside my sessions when I can. And something flops out of the air next to me. And I look over and it's a dove. And this was just a few days before I was about to go into ceremony, actually host ceremonies. And I pick the dove up and it's obviously in pain and it's laying on its back in my hands. And I could see that it was hurting. And I'm like, how am I supposed to save this? And I thought, well, maybe I just send it loving energy. And I could see in its eyes that moment that I just loved it, where it went from pain to gentleness. And then she passed in my arms.
Mm.
And so in some of the medicine trainings that I've worked with, we can use feathers. Feathers are tools that can help us in clearing and bringing in blessings. And so with that, I've had a lot of birds come into me with that, owls and eagles and hawks. And so I was able to take the dove's wings and give her a beautiful burial and put tobacco down and bless her. And when I meditated later on and I asked her like what was going on and why, and there was some energies kind of being projected at me at that time. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of like poison arrows that shamans can throw, but I got the sense that she took one for me. And when I tuned in with her, she said that she really believed in my mission and what I was doing and that she would do it over and over again. And that she wanted me to have her medicine, which was that peace and being able to bring that to the people I'm serving.
That's awesome. And your ceremonies, are they like ayahuasca, mushrooms? Like what kind of ceremonies do you take people through?
Well, so first off, I work through a church, and more so than ceremonies, these are a form of prayer.
Oh, amazing.
I've never served ayahuasca. I feel like I probably would need 1,000 more lifetimes of training to step into that master.
I know. I get fear even talking about it. Ayahuasca in particular.
Well, I've helped facilitators for about 15 years now.
Yeah.
And I love her. She's such a beautiful teacher and guide. And so I'm very familiar with her. I just am not as familiar with everything I need to. But I like to work with psilocybin.
Yeah.
And wachuma and other plants.
What wachuma is that? Is that the tobacco?
No, it's San Pedro. It's a cactus. It's a bit like the mescaline family.
Yeah, psychedelics are so out there for me still. I still struggle with letting go and the fear around it for me, especially psilocybin. But I'm called to it still. You know what I mean? But just, yeah.
Yeah, well, Jake and I.
Well, you can reach those states through mindfulness and breath.
Yeah, I do. And I do get a soul, like I've been fighting with this a while. I'm like, is it my soul giving me a feeling of not yet? Or is it my mind or my ego? And I was like, lately I've been really learning to feel that. And it is a soul no right now for me with that kind of stuff, even though I'm drawn to it. I'm very inquisitive about it, but it's an interesting thing.
Because it's so true, because we went to this psychic the other day, right? I've never been to anything like that before, right? It's a crazy story. Like we went to her because this girl I know went and saw this psychic, random one, just in this off the street. And the crazy thing was they walked in off the street, didn't even tell her names or nothing. And this psychic started telling her all about me and how we sell like supplement, like potions for men and stuff. And then how apparently I'm good at getting women fertile, which is Not like me personally, you know what I mean? But like just obviously the principles, CHEK principles. Hi.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
But and it's funny because our next product is fallopian tubes, uterine tissue, and liver for females. So like just sex organs for females, like a capsule of that, because that doesn't really exist around here. Like, and we just believe in that tribal wisdom, because we know when we take the testicles and liver, it makes you really horny as a man, and it does. And we didn't think it really, like, I thought I know it would be good for fertility and whatnot, but like it actually did make a pretty major noticeable non-placebo difference. And I knew it was non-placebo because one time I realized I took heaps of them and I forgot, and I was like, oh, I'm pretty like, a few hours later I realized, why am I feeling like this? Yeah. And then I remembered and I was like, oh shit, okay. Yeah. So that is a thing. And this guy even messaged the other day. I was like, man, I went around with the missus, and then usually I can't go again, and 5 minutes later I was good to go again and stuff. But anyway, this lady said heavy details about us, about me. And so I was like, I got to go see this lady. And then I sat down and she told me just some real crazy accuracies, and didn't know me, didn't know nothing, like wouldn't have Instagram, like, and said stuff about business, said stuff about like, she even said like, you're going to be talking, you're going to be like on stage talking. And I had it written down, and she said like TED Talks, and I wrote down, I want to do a TED Talk. And before I walked in, literally like on the phone, I walked into her joint and I got called to just do like a small talk for a friend's thing. And I was like, this is nuts, right? But I could have been a tradie to her. Like, she didn't know what job I had or nothing, you know? And then Jake went and saw her, because it was like a few hours later. And then the accuracies with his and how she goes, you're going to get a lot deeper. And this is what made me think of this, right? You're going to get a lot deeper in your esoteric soul, which is so him. And I was thinking, God, like if he jumped into that nether realm now, he would go so deep, I reckon. Like if he got into the medicines, because I feel comfortable with, I haven't done ayahuasca, but I feel comfortable with the other ones. Like I feel, it's always been a good experience for me. It helps me connect to that more, because I find it very hard to get into that. He can get into that when he meditates easy. I find that hard. But when I jump into say psilocybin or even LSD or those sort of things, even DMT, I can blast off. But I still feel grounded in some sense. I feel safe in my mind, and I don't feel like it's gonna doesn't make me scared, you know. But I know that if he was to do that, he's so deep already that he would be like, whoa, is there like it could bring fear for him at the start, you know, at least now in your journey.
You know, you have a deep feeling of inner knowing. Like my dad passed away recently, and so I wanted to channel him a little bit. But the girl said that. I remember Dad saying to me before he passed, he's like, I speak to spirits every night, and the spirits say that you will, in your 40s, they're dying to talk to you. They will talk to you in your 40s. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. And then this psychic was talking about that. She's like, they're dying to talk to you. And I was like, oh, like I can't see it yet. You know what I mean? But it's coming. I can feel that it's all divine timing. But yeah, it's pretty cool. And she said some crazy stuff my dad would say. I was like, yeah, it blew our mind. And she's also like not your average psychic, if there is an average psychic. I guess there's an archetype of a psychic. She's more, I would say, a channeler. She's just like channeling from guides. And for me, that was really reassuring and really cool to see.
Yeah, she was very playful and happy. And like there was no ego involved, eh?
Yeah.
She didn't really care if you were believing it or not. She was just telling us what was coming through.
Are you guys going to bring her on the show?
Maybe we should.
We should. Yeah, I haven't thought about that, but that would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I recorded my whole hour and I listened to it again yesterday. I was like, wow, some crazy stuff in there. How does she pick up that?
She was telling me about my mum and dad, and like I couldn't believe how accurate she was about my mum and my dad, man. Like I was like, this is nuts. Like,
that's a special thing to find one like that off the road.
Yeah. It's like, it's somewhat, well, it's hard when you've been around Paul, you understand. Hey, I think Paul's the closest thing to a guru that I've been around, that I've just been like, there is magic here, you know? And until you're around it, it's really hard to explain that to people. If even just being in the energy of it, it's just like, what's going on? What is this?
And do you know what I love about Paul and all the, people that are coming from CHEK that have gotten to a certain place is like, we don't want to be your guru. We want to show you that you can turn all this on yourself.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I would just like to say that goat testicles are my favorite pre-workout.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, because I think Guru, like, I've grown up reading a lot about Ram Dass and his whole journey and Maharaji and, you know, magic and stuff like that, which was cool. But in this lifetime, I didn't think I would meet someone who I would say, honestly, is the closest thing to the guru for me, is Paul, because he's not trying to be a guru. He's just living it. And I don't know. That made me, because there's these stories of Maharaji. I don't know if you've listened to it, but he was basically enlightened, and so he could read a lot of stuff. And I've seen Paul do that. So I'm like, fuck, all right, it is real. Once you get your shit in order and you cultivate that, you can help people on such a deeper level by just being around them. And I was like, fuck, that's pretty cool. And seeing it in action, like, it's crazy, you know, like, there's so many stories, but yeah, it's just cool. Makes me excited about life. Like, it makes me feel like there's this beautiful magic that we can discover in this life.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not all so plain.
Day.
Yeah.
I was hanging out with Angie the other day and I was just like, gosh, I feel so bad for the people that don't see and witness and experience this magic. Like, the universe is always wanting to show it to us. Have you ever heard of the book E Squared?
That's so funny.
No, I haven't.
Donald. Yeah. That's that Pamela Grout one.
Oh.
And the other one, Donald gave me that CD. It's all manifestation about the ring and everything. That's the one I was telling you about.
Oh, right. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's such a good. I've only had it in audio, but yeah, you go on.
Well, just, you know, I love that book put it into like, here, let's not make this so hard about like manifesting, you know, your perfect career. Let's just manifest a cup of coffee, you know?
Yeah.
Let's just do a couple of little exercises to show you that the universe is malleable. It is energy, and your thoughts are creating the energy. Anyway, I just wondered if you guys had read that. And I went through that like 10 years ago and played. I kind of been a self-help metaphysical junkie my whole life.
That's so good. What are you manifesting now?
You know, it's so funny because I'm manifesting a clear schedule to step into an archetype that's like really calling me forward, and that is the author.
Oh,
my grandmother, who was the astrologer, she was an author, and she came into my field about 2 years ago, and a few people were telling me like, you need to write a book, you need to write a book. And I've been threatening that piece, but I also know that when I get down stepping into it, that I'm probably going to have to, a little bit like what Paul just went through, 4 years of not seeing clients to just like bring out his life's work. I don't know if mine will be that involved, but I have a few books brewing. And
that's freaking cool.
That's the universe talking to you, eh?
Yeah, that's the universe talking to you. And I
mean.
Oh, me?
Yeah, because that's what she told you too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
The psychic said he's going to write a book. And I was like, that's so spot on. He will write a book eventually. And now you can just chat GPT.
Yeah. I was thinking about your book then, and I was like, yeah, Paul does it in extreme ways like that. And I was like, you could do it in however way feels perfect to you. And that's
right.
How good is life that you can do that? You can have you could take clients and write a book. Like, it's really individual.
Yeah, and now,
with AI as well.
I know,
crazy.
Dude. Like, now you can just speak into your phone and it will proofread it for you and like
punctuate
and write a book. For those people that want to write a book but don't want to sit down and write it, it's like you can do that now. You know? It's like it's
and
exciting.
Wayne Dyer. Yeah, did you ever listen to much of Wayne Dyer?
That's so funny that you bring it up, because I've been like sitting with like, well, how I've like sometimes gone into ceremony. I'm like, okay, guys, what do I got to do? They're like, grab a pen and get a paper. And Wayne Dyer, he wrote all of his books by hand.
Exactly. And he would just channel. He'd get up at 4:30 and he'd just write. And I write music, but I write it kind of like poetry or something like that. And when I start writing it, everything in my whole body is just like my hair is just like standing up. And I feel I've never felt more connected to source than when I write these little things I do. But it freaks me out. So I know when I write a book, that's what I want the feeling to be. I want it to be like guided, you know what I mean? And I was thinking about it yesterday. What would that be? And I was like, far out, like it's just a mystery.
For you, like I imagined you, like, because you have these thoughts, right? And you talk to me about them and whatnot. But I was like, these are those times you have those thoughts and you just speak it into your phone.
Yeah.
And then it can write it for you.
Yeah,
and
that
then
is pretty
And
cool.
then at the end you can say, all right, all this information, can you just like make it neater? Because you don't like, you know, all the editing side of things and shit.
No.
But you don't have to do that. That's what I mean.
No, yeah. So AI is crazy. If you
No, I'm a little bit like of a control freak. I'm like, I don't know. I kind of I want to do it old school, homeschool.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think you could do it old school and then
And then give it over to her,
let it do
see what
the
she does with it.
yeah.
No, I have finally started dabbling in AI, and I like it because when you have like that brain fart, it's not that you want her to write the whole paper for you,
Yeah.
but you can bounce ideas off, and she kind of gets you through that stuck.
It's amazing for time and how you can use it. Okay, this is an example yesterday, right? My dishwasher was not working. And then I was like, what is this fucking dishwasher? And then I put in the thing to ChatGPT. I was like, what does this mean in this dishwasher? And instead of me going to find this PDF of the user manual for this dishwasher, ChatGPT went through it, found it, said, oh, this icon means this. It's not draining inlet, blah, blah, blah.
Well, that is pretty
And I
crazy.
was like, that just saved me so much fucking time. And I fixed the dishwasher because the ChatGPT told me. So it can pull it from the internet. It's crazy how it's like you got to be creative to use it. In the sense of where can you use it to save times and the things that don't matter. Like I don't want to be going through Google and searching for user 744896. Like it's crazy. It's crazy. And as we touched on that Pamela Grout thing, I remember a story that came to me is that E Squared book. Is I remember I was going through like pretty well, like just went through a breakup or about to go through a breakup and I could feel it. And a couple of years ago now. And I remember I told the universe, because I just finished listening to that book, I go, give me a sign. And I tapped next on my playlist. And then J. Cole song came on and it was like, don't save her. She don't want to be saved. Don't save her. And I was like, oh, sweet. Okay, that's my answer. You know what I mean? And it made me feel like the universe supported me. You know what I mean? Because I was like, don't save her.
Yeah, fuck. I had a similar one. This is probably not even maybe even overshare, but like I was in the car and I just lost my dad and I was like just thinking about him a lot, and then the divine timing of this Jake's piano song come on that just like, dude, I was fucking bawling my eyes out. Just let it out. It's like, yeah, it's freaky. Hey, but I had a question I wanted to ask you. Oh yeah, are you married with kids now?
I have a 20-year-old daughter who lives just down the road from me.
Yep.
And I've been married for 8 years
Nice.
With a man who I didn't have the daughter with.
Okay, awesome. And
Yeah.
what age did you guys get, like what age did you get married?
We got officially married, I think about 3.5 years ago.
Okay.
We had a ceremony like 2 years before that, but I'm not much of a wanting to do extra paperwork kind of girl.
Yeah,
So
fully.
when we started to buy some real estate together and stuff, that's when we did the paperwork.
Man, that's awesome, eh? I so want to come out to Utah and see what it's like out there. I've heard so much good things.
We have a lot of national parks.
Yeah.
If you like nature, it's incredible.
And like if you like hunting and if you like snowboarding too in the winter, hey. Apparently it's the snowiest place in the world next to Japan.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that.
15, is it am I right saying it's like 15 or 16 meters of snowfall annually?
Some years in our
Whoa.
Yeah, it's incredible. And we have a lake in front of our mountains that's saltwater.
Oh, wow.
So the snow that's created is light. It's the fluffiest snow on earth. It's really incredible.
Wow, that's crazy. And in summer there, is it hot?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, we're a
So
desert.
trippy.
I mean, it's 97 degrees outside right now.
Wow.
Wow. So what is that in Celsius?
I don't know.
Don't know. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, 97 degrees to us just sounds foreign. I'm just
Yeah,
like,
it sounds like you'd be
sounds
dead.
like it's hot. Sounds like it's
That's
hot.
like hotter than my sauna right now, you know? Like,
Yeah. Do you have a
I'm
sauna?
starting to learn Celsius. I have an Euler bed and I accidentally turned it to Celsius. So now I've got to figure out what I want it in degrees.
Hula
in
bed? What's
Celsius.
that?
It's like it's a cooling mattress.
Oh, that's what I
that you
got.
can
Yeah.
change the temperature.
Is it?
Yeah.
Do you love it?
Yeah.
It's freaking good, eh? When it's hot.
Yeah. I don't use it as often in the winter. I don't mind being like a little warm. but
Yeah.
in the summertime, you can like let the house get hot and just get in your bed. And
Oh yeah.
It's really cold.
It's a game changer, especially here.
what's I was gonna ask, what's your your practice of self-reflection is yours like, or what's your type of meditation, or is it qigong, or is it sitting, is it breath work? Like, what's your thing that you feel like you can connect most to?
I find for me it's really helpful if I rotate it, because if I start to think I need to do qigong every day, it starts to become something like the to-do list, and I can go out there and think about what I'm going to get grocery shopping sometimes. I mean, every tune-in is different. I love breath work right in front of my infrared light.
Nice.
Have you guys ever heard of the Renegade Pharmacist?
No.
I really like his form of breath work because it's a different way of reaching hypoxia than what we kind of learned from Wim Hof, where it's just get the air in. I don't care which hole it comes in, just suck it in. It's a lot of hyperventilating.
What's it
where
called?
his
Sorry, I'm just going to write it down.
Renegade Pharmacist. Niraj is his name. He was a pharmacist in the UK from India. His like roots are Indian.
Cool.
And he got really sick and couldn't get better and took a journey to India and learned breath work.
Cool.
And so his is all about like using breath work as a form of manifestation. So he's got some really beautiful tracks where you exhale a little bit longer than you inhale. And if you do that enough times, you reach a state of hypoxia. The full exhale, hold it, the big inhale, bringing up all of that pressure to your pineal gland, maybe getting a little release of DMT. That one I really love. And then, you know, another one for me is like nature. I have 3 dogs and they need to be walked every day. So
Sick.
they walk me every day. And just getting out into nature and seeing the green, and like no matter what, rain, sleet, snow, or shine. You guys know of the therapy called EMDR?
No.
So EMDR it's a good form of trauma therapy, and they basically use some form of eye tracking where you're looking left and looking right and looking left and looking right. And when you do that, it's easier to access the subconscious or things that are like dropped into that. The woman who created it, you know, basically figured it out on a walk. As she was walking and looking left and looking right, she was able to like bring up past memories and resolve them and work through them. And so like I really like to double up on my dog walks and just use that time to reflect. Do you ever like go out for a run and just all of a sudden you process things?
Yeah, every day. Every day.
So when I walk my dog, yeah.
Yeah, we both got Vishlas and they're very exercisey. I run mine every day. I got an electric bike though, and I just sit on the bike and play a podcast or just meditate or whatever.
Yeah, I got an electric scooter and she runs next to me on the scooter and she jumps on the scooter with me actually.
Yeah.
It's the best.
How good are dogs, hey? What kind of dogs do you have?
They're all doodles. So, you know, the kind that don't shed, because my husband and I are both in like physical touch work with people. We needed something hyperallergenic.
Yeah.
Cute, smart, just love them. Dogs are the greatest, aren't they?
They are.
So good.
What is when you say your husband is physical touch, what does he do for, like, is he a practitioner of some sort?
Yeah, so he was part of my healing my back story.
Oh.
He's been in structural integration for about 30 years.
Cool.
And he also learned from a gentleman who taught a system called BioSync. And it wasn't like a school that you could go to. He would only take on like 1 or 2 apprentices at a time. And
Cool.
This gentleman came up with this massage technique, not because he wanted to be a better masseur, but he was actually studying with Yogi Bhajan, and they were taught to learn how to rub each other so that they could sit for 8 hours a day in meditation.
Oh.
And that's where this BioSync comes from. And when I was in the deepest parts of my pain, one of my yoga teachers was like, you should go see this guy, Ryan Higginson. And so I did. And I couldn't even lay straight on the bed the first time I was in so much pain.
Oh, wow.
He does something that I've never experienced in body work before. He's really attuned to the energy, gets a lot of emotional releases, which most body workers, if they tune in, can. But yeah, he's been a big part of my healing journey. And then after I stopped seeing him as a massage therapist for a few years, he was able to ask me out.
That's so good. Yeah, fully. Hey, you need that time. Like if you have a client, you're like, I need a good year or two. And then you come back, you're like, what are you up to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so good. That's so good.
Yeah.
Oh,
Remember
awesome.
Donald like warned us when we started. He's like, man, you got to be careful. He's like, you got to be careful. There'll be some girls that'll come in that you shouldn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's the truth, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. That emotional. Yeah, when I was doing, we did a lot of body work because we worked under, we did a mentorship under Ian O'Dwyer. And when I started using my hands a lot with clients, I was just like getting the craziest emotional releases. And I was like, fuck,
Yeah.
I need to stop this. Like, I don't even want this. Like, I wasn't ready for it. It was
Yeah.
hectic.
See, and I didn't get that at all. I was
Yeah.
I was pure anatomy. Like
Yeah.
that was my head, you know, like just logic and that'd feel good, you know, but I wasn't
Yeah,
getting,
totally.
yeah. But at the same time, I didn't want that either, you know?
No.
So it was just where I was at or yeah.
Yeah, you got to feel called to it, I
And
reckon.
when you say getting emotional releases, was that coming through you?
Yeah,
or?
totally. I was feeling it. However, I didn't really know I knew somewhat what was happening, but especially mainly females that I was working with. And I was doing a lot of hands-on stuff and a lot of like emotional releases, a lot of tears and a lot of stuff like that. But I felt we were doing like 6 clients a day and I felt really drained. Like I felt so drained. And then after about a year of that, we were just like, okay, let's pull it back a little bit. And I realized that now I'm very selective who I do hands-on with. And yeah, we give a lot of deep tissue work with balls and stuff like that. So, which will allow them to kind of be in control of which sometimes I feel like can be better for the right person. But yeah, it's all a learning journey. And sometimes you want to hold the space and open it up. But yeah, it's just, we all work slightly differently, eh?
Yeah, that's what's so cool about the CHEK stuff, eh? Everyone's so different.
So different.
Everyone's got their thing like it's like, and it's like you can all write a different program for the same person in some sense, and you all see different things. It's amazing. It's just fun, you know?
I don't even assess anymore. I just channel.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking. What's the word? If you're not assessing, you're guessing.
Yeah. It's like
if you're guessing, you're assessing.
Whatever, I'm channeling.
Yeah, that's what it almost feels like. Eh? It's like you just like wake up. I feel like when I assess someone, it's like time just flies by, and then I'm like, oh, it's done now. Like it's like non-stop thinking, but in a good way. It's in a fun way.
You're just in the flow state.
Fully. For you, I like to ask practitioners this: is there like a client or a story that stands out for you, whether it's in your early days or later days in doing this, that stand out for you? Like, oh, okay, fuck, this is different here, or this person was really struggling and they're completely better now. Is there 1 or 2 stories that stand out for you?
There's so many. I've been doing it a while. And I do remember one particular client who had a good amount of money, and he'd hired me because he had so much money that his biggest dream, well, maybe I won't say the dream because I don't want to relate to him, but it was like something that you don't need to dream of as a 55-year-old. If you were to I'm not going to tell someone who's right to have a dream or not, but you do want to make it smart, right? Realistic, attainable, measurable, trackable, reachable. And he had some issues with his knees and had a high level of sport he needed to attain to make this dream happen. And, he had a Baker's cyst behind his knees, and within just, a month or 2, we resolved a lot of the issues. And he came back at one point. He's like, man, I spent this much money working with Ben Greenfield and I didn't get this or this or that. And there was a lot of things that was being expected of him to do that wasn't taking into account his traveling, his schedule, his stress levels. It was just like, you spend this month, this is what you're going to do. And that's something that really I like about CHEK is there's not going to be a same program, even from person to person, who might have the exact same thing based on what they have going. And so I think the fun one for me is just so many people coming in who've been through kind of maybe physical therapy or Western medicine route and have been given up on and then find healing. And it has less to do maybe with how they're moving their body, but food allergies, yet healed their neck pain or their back pain.
Yeah.
Food's the biggest one.
How spot on is that? And how do you feel like the industry's going? Like, where do you feel like we're at? Do you feel like we're going... Do you feel like it's the same as where it is when you started? Do you feel like it's improving? Do you feel like it's getting worse in the sense of the norm?
Well, there's a part of me when I look out there in the industry field and I'm like, this is a lot of advertising.
Mhm.
Everyone's got the answer. And I don't have enough time to check out everyone's program because I know every one of them has probably cool perks to helping people. I wish there was like 4 me that I could just send out into the world and study.
Mhm.
And so if I were a person trying to get healthy, I think it could be a lot of confusion because there's a lot of people in different camps contradicting each other. But I also want to say with the positive piece is a lot of these things that we were learning, 20 years ago from Paul are now mainstream,
Mm.
which is so cool. Ice baths and showers and organic food. Like in the beginning, people were deer in headlights when I was telling them about this stuff. And now they're like, oh yeah, I heard that on this podcast.
Mm.
And so that's really exciting. And not to like do a shameless plug for the Institute or anything, but one of the things that I really love is that they take all that information that's out there and put it into a hierarchy. So I know I can't heal somebody's adrenal issue if their gut is off
Mm.
or if they're not detoxifying. So if they're throwing all this like adaptogens at their adrenals, but they're not pooping right, then I know where I got to start, but they might not. And so they might be spending a ton of money on someone's product or things without getting to like some of the root sources.
Mm.
Yeah, it does feel like that, eh?
It's pretty crazy for us, like, because we speak about like for us over here, it sort of feels like it all happened to us. Like it feels like just Paul's work, it was very new for Australia, and and I mean there'd been a couple, but no one had marketed it here, especially to people around our age or the younger generation.
Other than Paul, like it was big when Paul was out here, but since he stopped coming out, it's like
and like, well, I didn't even know, I wasn't even involved then, so I didn't even know about him then. Well, you went to his thing,
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
That was the last time he was out here.
Yeah. So I didn't even know about it then.
True.
And so what actually helped, helped us financially to then learn more and then grow it and market it was the Parasite Cleanse. And the Parasite Cleanse was only designed just for clients, right? And we only learnt it from Paul's stuff, like, oh, this is a common thing, right? But now it's like becoming a bigger thing. But really what it's done and why it's popped off so well for us here is most of the people probably don't even have parasites, a lot do, but like a lot don't. But really what it's done is just connected them to food and into a way that has never been, like, most people aren't used to that, right? And in a way that they didn't realize until they do it, until they're like, oh, it sort of forces them. I'm not sure if it's even the right answer. It's almost fear-based, right? Like they think they have a parasite, but all of a sudden they cut out coffee for 4 weeks, cut out grains, cut out this, and then like, oh, well, like this is how I can feel. And what was I doing before? Like I'm thinking are okay. And people think that it's like, and I think what we got to try and convince is people think about longevity and age as the same thing, or like longevity but quality, and how they don't realize like, oh, but my granddad smoked till 85 or 90 and he's fine, right? But it's when you feel that, when you have energy during those years, or even little things, like say people's maybe like hair going gray when they're young because they're low on micronutrients or something. Like they don't think about that. They think about just age. But all these little things from nutrition can completely change your quality of life. And I feel like there's a movement happening. I feel like
there definitely is down here. Certainly, like Australia's, and I'm so grateful for it. Like CHEK for me was like your story. It really, I felt lost and in a different direction, changed my whole direction. And it was the first time in life I was like, I can really truly believe in something and I can teach it and I trust in the work. And I always had this feeling of like one day here in Australia that CHEK would blow up. Because I'm like, for me, it's the only thing that truly works. Like you can truly assess a human and in their whole, in their wholeness. And I was like, fuck, I can't wait I just feel like this is a license to print money if it works, if you can teach it properly. And yeah, it's so cool to see down here how much it's like actually blowing up. So cool.
It's pretty nuts now.
Is it like that over there? Like, because I know America's the home of it. How's it feel in Utah?
Oh yeah. Well, years ago I'd be like, I'm a CHEK practitioner, and they're like, you're like from Czechoslovakia, and now more and more people are like, oh, Paul CHEK. So yes, it's getting out there.
Yeah, it's on like
And
I heard it on like the Nine Club, like this skateboarding podcast yesterday. Danny Way was talking about him. I don't know if you saw Paul share that. On I was
no,
on an
I
email.
didn't. Yeah.
It's really cool, but yeah, I mean that's going out to so many people. Like, so you think I
Mm.
think it's like right at like starting to blow up everywhere actually, which
Yeah.
is
And you know,
which is
like
so
just the
cool.
way you talked about it impacting you,
Mm,
like you you come across it and you're like, oh, this is the truth. And so
yeah,
I guess that's what I was kind of talking about with like the podcasting and so much information out there is it's like chunks of the truth, but missing the whole. So like when you
yeah,
get into that system that's like, you know, make sure that the sleep is, well, the six foundation
yeah.
principles. You know, before you go buying a bunch of things, it's so funny you talk about your parasite cleanse because I have something similar called the colon cleanse,
Cool.
and on the front of it, it says you just got to let that shit go because the colon it houses grief.
Yeah,
And, you know, everyone wants to go on a cleanse, but nobody wants to change their lifestyle. And so it's 30 days and only 30 days, but part of the directions are cut out the grains, cut out the sugar, cut out the coffee, and see how you feel at the end of 30 days. And,
amazing.
you know, in the beginning, when I was trying to just tell clients, just cut these things out, they wouldn't, but you sell them a $50 package of cleanse that says you just got to do this for 30 days and they do. It's so funny, the
Yeah.
mindset.
Mm,
It is, eh? But then they're in. Like, so even then I was in. Like when I first did it,
mm,
I was like, oh yeah, okay. You go back a little bit, but you don't go back to where you were. And then you do it again and you go back. And I realize it's years before it gets solidified. But some archetypes, some people's head are just like, they're all in from the start.
Fully,
you
hey.
know? But I wasn't it.
Yeah.
I had to do it a few times, but I always improved. Now
mm,
my foundations are just getting more and more solid. Like,
fully.
you know, like I'll never go and get a shitty chocolate bar from the shops like that. But I would have used to have done that, you know. But now I'll choose like some organic low sugar one, and it's like not even a mental thing anymore. It's not like I used to love cherry ripes and stuff, you know. And like now it's like not a chance I'm eating that.
Yeah,
Like,
fully.
and it makes you wonder my psyche at the time, and then you can relate to other people's psyche.
Dude, it was the bugs talking for sure.
Yeah, it was the parasites in my head talking. It wasn't even me.
They do.
They
Oh my
do.
goodness. Okay, I'm just going to share a story. Like I haven't dealt with a parasite in 15 years.
Mhm.
Since my original parasite cleanse going through the CHEK stuff. And, you know, my book I've been talking about, I've recently been like cultivating information and asking my guides. And I'm kind of one of those people that likes to go through an experience and recently went to Costa Rica this February for a medicine retreat and picked up a parasite.
Mhm.
I haven't had one in a while. And before I knew I had the parasite, my intention that night before drinking medicine was, Great Spirit, thank you for showing me what I need to know to begin the assessments, because I want to create assessments in my book to begin the assessments.
Cool.
Drank my medicine, laid down, pretty good at focusing my mind, but my mind started spinning. I'm like, oh, what is this? I'm going to come back to my breath. Spinning. And it was spinning into some interesting negative things. So they parasites oftentimes are attracted when we have parasitic thoughts.
Mhm.
And I think chicken or egg, all of a sudden I have this parasite. I got it from swimming in the ocean, I'm pretty sure. Little party action. But then after a minute, well, more like 2.5 hours on this psychedelic substance, like with an intention to
Did
learn
that freak you
what
out?
I
Like,
needed to know, I witnessed while awake bruxism begin to happen.
Say that
So we
again.
know bruxism,
What's that?
and that is a grinding of your
Yeah.
teeth while you sleep.
Oh, right.
This is a very big symptom of people who are having parasitical issues because most parasites wake up at night.
mhm.
They like to party at night. They have sex, they poop, they burrow back into whatever organ they're in, and this creates stress. And usually the body will start going like this and grinding its teeth while under that stress. But here I was awake, witnessing it. And at that point, I'm like, oh, because my partner, my husband, was having signs of it. He didn't come to the ceremony. Before that, he was up sick, and I'm like, I've got a bug. And then I was able to tune in and tap in and meet it,
Whoa.
and yeah, and see it. And connect with it and ask what it was there to teach me. And it was saying, you know, a lot of people aren't driving their own brain. There's a great book called Your Mind on Parasites. And it's just really interesting, the science that they've shown, how certain parasites will make people act more promiscuous or do more dangerous things. And so,
Wow, that's kind of freaky.
yeah, it's a pretty interesting little read. But I even have a drum over here on my wall that was made from black walnut wood. Same thing that we use in a parasite cleanse, because if I see somebody in ceremony running the loop in their mind of those thoughts, those parasitic thoughts, what do? They feed on us. I'll utilize that drum as medicine to kind of help with those thoughts. But feeling better, came home and did a lot of work with some parasite medicine and had a next level. But I was able to witness that the life cycle. This parasite had a life cycle of about 9 days, and I could tune into it before I'd get any physical symptoms on how my brain pattern would change. Like, how interesting is that we
That
would
is
think
crazy.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild. Hey.
Yeah.
And getting it like, you know, making, you know, what you said before about the parasite making you be more dangerous. I feel like that would be because they want you to die and eat you.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And some animals, they do want to die. Like you look at the ants that will crawl up to the top of the grass and die so that a little fungus can grow out of their head, you know?
Yeah, fuck.
It's a scary world down there. I was looking at the sink. We've got this like ant problem at the moment. Ants keep coming in the sink and they eat the sponges, and there's like so many of them. And yesterday, this is such a weird thing I'm sharing, but anyway, I was looking at all the ants and I was like, this is like, we are ants on the planet, and I just like killed like 100 of them. And I try not to kill them because I don't want to kill them, but like it's literally
Right.
like I don't know how to avoid it because I'm trying to clean my dishes and I'm like, you know, and it's like we had ant raid out, but I was like, man, I was like, this is their whole world, and that could just be me just getting washed out right now. And I was like, it's the end of their life. And I was just like, fuck, it's nuts. But people look at them like parasites. Anyway.
Have you, you know who Paul Stamets is?
Yep.
He discovered a fungus that works for ants in the home.
Oh, really?
Whoa.
Just look up Paul Stamets and ants.
Okay. Does it kill them, or does it like just like defer them?
Defers them.
Okay, cool. That's
That'd be nice.
Yeah. See,
Yeah. Like when I gutted that dishwasher yesterday, I saw like cockroach stuff in there. So I ended up getting like some toxic cockroach shit and like putting it under the dish, like in the dishwasher. I was like, fuck. I know it's all life, right? But cockroaches, I don't want those. I don't want them in my kitchen.
I had one crawl on me the other night, dude.
Oh, really?
I was in my sleep and I was like, oh, that's something crawling on me.
Oh,
and I went
dude.
like that and flicked it. And then it was on the ground. It was on the bed next to me. And I was like, well, I don't want to kill it, but like I just got it and went, I just heard it hit the wall. I was like, maybe, I don't know what's going on at the moment.
Yeah, but old house.
Well,
Old
yeah,
house.
old
both of
house.
you look up cockroach totem and
Ooh.
ant totem and see what they're there to tell you.
Yeah.
They don't have to be around anymore once you get the message.
Yeah, true. Hey, I like
Yeah.
it. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, true. So what's next on your journey? And are you like, what are you currently doing now? Are you working with clients one-on-one still, or what's going on?
I'm living the dream. I really am. I
Oh,
love
yeah.
my life so much. So the home that you see behind
Heck, it's the
me,
dog.
when I started with my cute dog.
Hello.
Oh, he's gonna
He's turning it on. He's turning it on for the viewers.
totally turning it on. Yeah, I used to have a really big studio and I downsized when I started teaching for the Institute, and this home I bought specifically for my CHEK work. I
Fuck
live
yeah.
here alone. My husband's down the road. And I get, 3, 4 people that come here to learn how to heal every day. And I get to show them like in the environment that they're probably, well, maybe they're not living in, but they're going to upgrade the way they live in it. So we get to go to the kitchen and we get to go to the gym, and then I'm doing retreats. So I do retreats with a group of women, and I also do a moon circle, and I've been hosting that for almost 8 years now. And that's kind of my philanthropy project. I don't get paid. I just create space for women to come learn and get higher knowledge, and they do it by donation. And then we put our donations out into the public. We just built schools or walls around a school in Africa for children, and we're going to
Wow.
be cleaning up water for
Fuck yeah.
other children. Yeah, it's super cool. Teaching for the Institute, and then recently just started taking a lot of things off of my schedule because I'm really starting to get serious about this little inkling in the back of my head, like time to put some stuff down. Some of my books are going to be about health, and I think some of them are going to be about like just finding healers in some of the places you never could imagine, like Zen in the strip club.
Sick.
Hell
That's
yeah.
a sick idea. That is a sick idea.
Yeah, fully.
You know the market for that? God. that
Yeah,
is-
it's like Ramdas said. He's like, if you had to ask me what I'd do to get enlightened 10 years ago, to be go to India and meditate. And he goes, if you'd ask me now, he goes, go to New York and meditate.
And you know, I
Right.
think that's the
Yeah.
craziest idea because like I'm friends like with the like girls that are strippers or been strippers, and a lot of them have this yearning. They have this yearning because a lot of them they've already had a hard life or something like that. There's a reason why they're financially put in this position, and then they're up all night, and then they're obviously the sleep schedules are all out of whack and whatnot, and then they have this like this yearning for like I don't know like depth or spirituality or something while they're in this field. So that is such a sick like book name, even, you know, Finding Zen in the
Yeah.
Strip
Well,
Club.
that's interesting because I found spirituality in that experience. Okay, I'm gonna leave. I have a feeling we're getting near, but I want to share this story because it's so
Please do.
beautiful.
Yeah.
So I got into dancing at 19 and was raised by a mom who we were in poverty. So to experience that for the very first time, the ability to make enough money to have a secure root chakra to go out and explore higher learning. That's what I was doing. I actually became a paraglider first because I was just like, that's what I want to do. I got money, I can spend it.
Sick.
And so as I was going along 19 to 26, 7 years, I got to this place where I'd made so much money and I was, you know, young and egotistical that somebody might put $1 on my stage and I'd be like, oh, you know, 'cause like, oh, it's not a 5. I'm not even gonna, which when I got pregnant with my daughter, I got to that place of poverty again. Her father wasn't providing. I didn't know how because I didn't have a career other than what I had chosen. And I remember 2 things that happened during that pregnancy. One, my uncle was dying, and because I didn't have a job, I helped to take care of him. And he was really obese, morbidly obese, and it was really hard. I was really disgusted. And there was a lot of like things that I just didn't want to do. And his mom, my grandmother, came to me and she said, you know, that's my son, and he hasn't been touched with love in years. And if you could just touch him like his mother as he's leaving this realm, it would mean the world to me.
Mm.
And here I was becoming this mother, and it shifted that moment, how I touched him and cared for him as he was dying. And I also came across $20 bill on a dog walk, and I hadn't had a free 20 in months. And I took it and I bought a cup of coffee and a book, and I read it, and I swore to God at that moment, if I had the opportunity to walk back into the club, I would never take for granted a single dollar again. And how supportive that was. And I held true to that. I danced for almost another 10 years. And the love that I gave through me was so genuine. I taught a lot of women stripping, and I says, look, a lot of these men are in here because they weren't loved by mothers in one way or another, and they're seeking out some form of energy. And believe it or not, it's a loving energy. They
Wow.
might guise it in what looks pornography has taught us, but in reality, if you can learn how to give love, no matter what they look like or smell like, you'll be successful. And there was a lot of times where I met God in a lap dance chair.
Wow.
Yeah, and it moved through me, and it was really beautiful.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
That is
That's
so
spot on,
glad you
Zach.
shared that. That was amazing.
Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
true, eh?
Yeah, man.
So true. Like the
Yeah.
guys that are like often there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like
and
it's not.
it's beyond physical form, right? It's like you talk about like what you smell like and what you look like, and like a lot of people are so ashamed about things in their life, and I get like the sense of like that if only we all knew how lovable we were just the way we are. And I think that good looking woman showing that to men, that would be a God experience for them.
Yeah.
When they
Yeah.
feel so unloved.
And just sorry, go on.
Well, and there was a deep energy exchange because these men were providing for my daughter in a roundabout way that the man who, brought her into life with me didn't. And so it was not just like, I'm loving you because you weren't loved. I'm loving you because you're the divine masculine for me in my life at this moment, the way you are.
Mm.
And just, I guess, the
that's cool.
example of just
That is
like
cool.
when you just give love to anyone, it's always a positive.
Yeah.
Like no matter who they are, it's always
Right.
the comeback's never going to be hate. You're never going to get drama back from that if you always choose love.
Mm.
Yeah, choose love should be in the name of our shirt.
Fully, hey.
Yeah, choose love. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was great. Hey, I love that. How we had no clue what we were going to chat about, and it's always perfect.
I feel like it makes the podcast way more exciting.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. And which CHEK courses do you teach?
I teach IMS 1 and HLC 1.
Cool.
Sick.
I'm like the gateway drug to the CHEK Institute. They
Yeah.
put me in the mama CHEK position, bringing in all our baby little CHEKlings and getting
That's
them all
perfect.
fired up in their hearts
Yeah.
that they can do it too. Look, if a stripper can make it all the way through and be in front of you as your instructor, you can do this too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I went to jail years ago. Actually, I got locked up for 7 months, and I'm not sure how many CHEK practitioners there are that have done that and shown that we can come, like through Paul's work, coming from there to this is crazy. When I was sort of told that, I remember being in school, you go to jail, your life's fucked, but it's not the case at all. And I'm going to the US Embassy next month so I can get into the States, so I can come over and check that country out, meet Paul, do all those things, and to show you that, just thank him for what he's done for our life. And also inspired, because I know we've inspired Australia, young people in Australia and older people in Australia, that you can do this, and that you don't have to follow all the rules. We didn't follow the rules, and it worked out for us.
Yeah,
So,
totally.
yeah.
Yeah, and I had a similar experience with leaving school in grade 8 and following a completely different path, having no education really. And when I heard Paul say that would really grip me. I was like, you know what? I can study anatomy. Like, it's not that fucking hard. I can learn this shit, And it's like that self-belief, and it didn't happen overnight, but I got here eventually, and I think that's empowering. And like you, I do want to teach HLC 1 and IMS 1 as well, just to get people, to show that it's like you can, whoever you are, do this. Doesn't matter what you look like, what you fucking
so much for our lives, like to be able to touch more lives through the people that are going to be learning it.
Yeah.
And now
fun,
it's crazy. They're doing IMS 1 here at the gym in August, which is our first.
Awesome.
We're hosting it now, which is a trip. Thinking about it, it was only like 4 years ago. I was sitting there watching Joe Rushton teach me some stuff,
Yeah.
And now we're hosting the venue for it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Which is
yeah,
cool.
It was a pretty of a trip. They sent me through the contract the other day. I'm like, this is pretty crazy.
Yeah, it is.
And then IMS 4 they're doing here as well next January.
Next Feb or something.
Yeah. February, sorry.
I've always wanted to go to Australia.
Come out.
That would
for sure.
be sick. Yeah, because I know Matt's coming. I think Gavin might even be coming over.
Yeah, Gavin and Matt are probably going to cruise over and do like a
and Susie even. Hey.
Yeah, and do like a CHEK sort of talk or something. You know what I mean? And we'll just rally up some numbers here because it's pretty big now in Southeast Queensland. Here, it's become something. So there's a lot of people getting into it. So it's cool.
Well, IMS 4, I could probably take 10 more times.
I know.
That is
Hey,
such a full class.
It is. It's so. It's like learning. I think all the CHEK levels again. Don't you reckon?
Through a fire hose.
Yeah, through a fire hose. I know, it's like so much information. That's like I'm going to take it again in February as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So I just think it's yeah, it's so fun. Fucking love it. But then
Mm.
HLC, I can't wait for IMS5 too with Paul. I just feel like
And it sounds like most of your listeners are like Chekies, I'm guessing, because you talk a lot about it. Do they know what we're talking about here?
I guess they
Well,
would by now. I don't know. We
they
just sort
probably know of it, but we
Yeah.
get so many, like I've had like 60-year-old people reach out and be like, me and my husband sit and watch your podcast on the TV every night. Like, shit
Yeah.
like I don't
Right.
know, like
It's so
just
cool.
different dynamics. But
yeah, and like I was in Japan and this guy in the onsen, I was naked sitting in the onsen at Japan, and this guy's like, "Oh, corrective culture," and then I was at a knife shop in Tokyo, and this chick was like, "Corrective culture," and then I went to Sydney recently. This guy from Ireland was like, "Man, I just moved to Sydney. I've watched all your videos on TikTok. I'm a physio in Ireland and stuff," and
that's
I'm like,
cool, eh?
I'm like, you know when you just don't realize, when you're in it, like you don't see it all, like, but you realize there's a lot of people watching that it's like opening them up out of the matrix, as it was for us. So it's just like really we're just the next person passing on the work, and they'll do the same thing to other people, and it's just that's how the whole world subtly spreads. So I feel like a movement's happening, and we'll be that future cult leader running the world.
I think she's frozen.
Oh, she's frozen. I thought she's.
But the best kind of frozen.
Can you hear us? Nah, she's Oh, there you are.
Oh, there
You're
you
back.
are.
You're back.
That was so good. We had the best frozen image of you, just so happy, like.
Yeah, that was good.
And then you came back and you had blue light blockers on.
Yeah, just like.
I was wondering, I'm like, I wonder what image they got frozen with.
That is-
that
that
was
is
good one. It
amazing.
was like you were way too like laughing at my joke way too hard. And I was like, oh, she's still smiling. Like,
Yeah, that's so good. Oh, that's perfect. Well, how do people reach out and get in touch with you before we bail? What, like if people want to work with you, if they're in the States or online or?
Yeah, I have a couple of websites, NicoleDevaney.com, or the How To Healer will also go to that same site if you don't know how to spell my last name, the How To Healer.
cool.
I have a website called Called to Remember, and those are some retreats I do for women.
Awesome.
That kind of marries all of the different medicines I have through like learning that body love through dancing and CHEK. We
Cool.
serve all organic biodynamic foods and
Fuck yeah.
run around naked on a mountain. It's a pretty
Nice.
good
That
time.
sounds so good. Is there a male one?
I keep pushing my husband to do that. He does some group male things, but it's more like gladiator kind of bike riding stuff.
Nice, nice.
And just if you wanted to leave a little like sign off message for the listeners, what's something that comes to your heart right now, that a little bit of advice or something for people listening? I know I'm putting you on the spot, but let's
I
see what
love
comes
that.
out.
Well, I think you nailed it. What comes to your heart? Like take the elevator ride with every breath, every moment. Like you don't have to biohack or meditate your way into being whole. You can wash your dishes with joy that you have dishes because you just ate.
Mm.
And like I think a lot of us are looking for the next thing to bring joy, but most of us are living like kings and queens compared to people just 100 years ago. So like something as small as running water or air conditioning can be deeply appreciated, and it's through that appreciation that I think we can create the most health in our bodies.
Beautiful. So gratefulness.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. I love that.
Cool, love
Yeah,
that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, when we come out to the States, we'll definitely shoot you a message.
Yeah.
We're hoping that it'll be like September, I reckon, August, September.
We're in Perth in
Oh,
August.
I bet that.
Yeah, at the-
Yeah.
I'll be out at the Rainbow House in August teaching, so maybe we run into each other.
August.
Cool.
What?
We just booked UFC in August.
But that's the 17th. When are you teaching in the States?
Oh, I think it's the week after, but
Okay.
Cool.
either way.
Yeah, it'll
sure.
divine timing. I know it'll work out, but that would be so cool to link up with you guys over there.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And
That was
Thanks for
awesome.
having me.
Always a good chat. And
Yeah.
it's funny, we've slowly unconsciously surrounded the dragon, So like we're getting all the CHEK people like subtly on, and we'll have to get Angie on,
Yeah, we've got to get Angie,
And-
and I'd love to get Penny on too. Be so cool.
that was cool.
Oh, I bet you she would have some fun stories.
I'd love to
holy
get
shit!
Penny on.
Yeah, Penny. Write that down, Harry.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. We got to get Penny on it, and that'd be sick. Because I just know Penny as like the old school videos, the babe in the old school videos.
Yeah,
you know what I
fully,
mean? So
hey.
it's like, I have to.
Penny is like the blood of
Yeah.
the Institute. That woman works so hard.
Yeah.
And,
That's cool.
you know, if it weren't for those women, Paul wouldn't be able to do what he does.
No
Mm.
way.
It's really
Yeah, I saw that
badass.
firsthand being at the house. Hey, it's like, and Penny, like, even with the podcast, the way she set it up and just like then did it all. It's like, wow, she's working and then taking care of the kids, and she was out doing work around the yard. And it's so cool to see the dynamic and how it all works there. Hey,
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Yeah. Let's like send them a big breath of love. They're
Yeah.
working so
Oh
hard.
my God.
They make it possible for all of us to grow ourselves.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Well, thanks again and much love.
Yeah, keep in touch.
Nice to meet you, Callan. You too,
You
Jake.
too.
Take
Bye.
care.
Bye.